Hello, Dr. Muhammad here. Today we have an esteemed presenter who is going to talk to us about their lived experience with parental incarceration. We are excited that many of the individuals who participated in the national study have signed up and agreed to provide intimate narratives, brief narratives on their particular experiences for those individuals who are researchers, practitioners, or even children of incarcerated parents themselves. So today you will have an opportunity to meet one of our interviewees. And the first question that we're going to tackle today is, what is your unique story? What is your unique story?
Hi, my name is Delita Rose Daniels. I am a parent of 4 children and a former child of an incarcerated parent. My mother was incarcerated for an extended period of about 5 years after she finally got locked up for good. And it was through what I consider to be one of the most important and significant times of a young adolescent life. I would say young adolescent girl's life, because I was 13 years old when my mother was sentenced to 5 years of prison. Which means that my mother did not come home until I was 18 and a half years old. And from 13 to 18, a whole lot of life happens in the life of an adolescent and just anyone. So that was pretty unique because I felt like those years were are some of the most shaping and instrumental and fundamental years of a young woman's life. And who better to shape their daughter than their mother? And I didn't necessarily feel like I had that when my mother became incarcerated. I was a young 13-year-old girl who hadn't even started her menstrual cycle, and when my mother came home, I was 7 months away from being a mother myself. So that's pretty unique. I went through those years, definitely had family trying to support me as best they could, but I became very rebellious. I became very lost, and I became very much shaped by my environment, choosing to leave stability, which I didn't recognize at that younger age, because I was placed with a religious aunt. I came from a environment where sort of free will. We were kind of loose, we had street smart, street lessons were a part of growing up, to sitting at dinner tables, eating a starch, a bread, and a vegetable with your protein, eating snacks together. And it was just way too much for me. On top of the other structural things that my aunt, her lifestyle entailed, that I chose to leave there and disrupt my living arrangement so that it'd be easy for them to allow me to leave there. And I lived with friends or family members, or stayed pillar to post, or babysat, some of the older teenage girls who had apartments. I would become their babysitter on the weekend so that I would have free range to telephone access, liquor, and quote unquote babysitting their child. Somehow I would never let nobody babysit my child like that, but that's how I was living. And trying to maintain school, which really had no importance to me. It was more of a place of escape versus an intentional educational experience. and a lot of life happened to me. A lot of poor choices happened in those 5 years that then impacted the next 5 years of my life. So that's what makes it pretty unique. I
Yes, definitely very unique. And you were able to navigate that landscape.
uh, navigate versus I guess, yeah, navigate seems so intentional to me, because if I'm navigating, I have a direction and I kind of know where I want to end up. um I was literally surviving,
Surviving.
and honestly, the prayers of my grandmother, I did not identify it then. I truly see it today as a 44-year-old woman. Had she not been covering me in prayer, because I certainly didn't know to do that, my navigation could have cost me my life in many different ways.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful, that you're able to, in retrospect, look back at that. Do you have any specific advice for individuals that may find themselves trying to survive through these different slippery landscapes of life?
My advice would be, one, you don't have to accept that life as your norm. People will put that on you. You're just a black girl from the projects anyway. Your mother was a drug dealer. Your father was an alcoholic. You turn to your left and your right. You got family members who are living the same way. So truly, you don't know any better, because it kind of appears to be your norm. And so when people put that on you, it's easy to take on that title. However, it is not the truth. It may be the norm, but it is not the truth. It is not the truth. And you do not have to receive the things that people, places, and things put upon you. If you, not if, because we all have purpose planted inside of us, whatever it was, whether you were 5 years old when you had that first dream, oh, I want to be this, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, that's your thing. Pursue that, because poverty doesn't have to be a barrier, incarceration doesn't have to be a barrier, your skin color definitely doesn't have to be a barrier. Those are just like stones that people put in front of you that we are almost taught to allow to stop us. But we don't we're better than that now. We know too much now. That is not the case. I am proof. I should be every bit of every statistic. My mother was a drug queen pin. I watched drug deal. Like, my house was transformed into. I mean, I'm dating myself, but if anybody watches the New Jack City,
Oh my God, yes.
that when that movie aired, I was like, oh my God, that's home. Oh look, I know a Pookie. I know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way. And I remember teachers specifically speaking things over my life, and I just refused to believe it. So my advice is, do not believe that thing. You can go to Howard. You can go to Yale. You don't. I didn't go to neither. But I tell you what, God favored me.
Exactly.
God favored me. I'm in a position now that requires a master's. I don't have a master's, but I got drive. And had it not been for some of the, I don't, today I recognize that surviving is really not a way you want to spend your life trying to live, because we're not put here to survive. We're put here to thrive. But it is sometimes necessary. And, you know, God gave me that ability to be a survivor as I navigated through the trenches. But now I have taken that once negative deposit, and I'm able to use it in a positive way because I have the skills to survive. I'm creative. I'm gonna think of a master plan real quick. I don't need nobody to feed me an idea. Not saying that I don't need anybody, but now I know that about myself. And I don't have to spend time feeling sorry for myself because I had to survive, because, you know, these bad things happen to me. Now I'm like, I know that God doesn't waste one thing. So though I don't want to dwell in survival mode today at 44 years old with a family and a new grandchild, I don't have to live that life, but I could tap into them skills when I need to.
Nice.
Because they're to benefit me.
Nice, nice. I love the way you said that. You definitely dropped so many different jewels as it relates to your unique story and owning your narrative. How important do you think that is to, you know your story, know your narrative, and even to share it?
After speaking with you and your team for the initial interview, it just gave me such a sense of liberation, because while I have shared pieces of it, you know, there are still levels of, you know, that were just untold, and that were anchoring down the weight of some shame. Why haven't I told it? Why not? You know? And I just felt really good, and it's beneficial, and it's healing. And while I overcame, or while I quote unquote succeeded, or I'm okay and I'm not a statistic, there were still very much and are still unhealed parts of me as a result of what happened. So the benefit of identifying, owning, and sharing are that you heal, because you do need to heal. This is traumatic. This is not a glamorized hood story, you know, in spite of my storytelling skills or any of our storytelling skills. It's there, underneath all of it is hurt, trauma, separation, disparity, you know, all of those things. And those things cause trauma on top of the everyday world we live in as Black and brown people.
Thank
Still
you
fighting
so much
against
for
the
that.
narrative.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. So rich and just so fulfilling to hear you say that. And I could hear the strength, you know, in the narrative and in your voice and in the tone and the way that you say it. And that truly is definitely a blessing to be in that space. So thank you. I'm sure that those individuals who visit the site and are able to hear this will definitely take away some of those gems that you drop. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate you.